this is Jenny. I am here to do a video for the Tonic Studios USA YouTube channel, and I am very excited to be selected as one of the new team members. I have just gotten the amazing package of goodies that they sent to us and decided I couldn't wait to go ahead and get in and try some of it out. So I thought I would do a quick card and record it and make a little process video of it too. I recently actually cleaned out a lot of my craft room. We actually redid the floors, and so I really started to go through everything that I have not used and seen and really don't need anymore, and have called back a whole pile, which has really left me with a nice, bright, clean space to create in, and it's very inspiring and perfect timing for this. So the first thing I'm going to use is the Tonic Essentials Craft Mat, the Easy Clean Mat, and it's got a good sticky side to one side of it that helps non-slip, and then the other side. And it comes in a really a neat tube that is actually really good to store in because it slips in and out pretty easily. So what I decided to do first was to I wanted to have a watercolor layered card, and I wanted to use the watercolor piece with the die that I plan to use. So I'm just going to add a little bit of a background wash with my Kansai Tombi watercolors. I keep a water bottle and a jar in my craft room because it's actually not near the kitchen or the bathroom or anything, so that when I watercolor I can just throw some in there and go ahead and paint. So I just lay down a quick wash of these sort of fallish colors. That's kind of the theme I'm going for with now that we're in October and it's finally starting to feel fall where I live. So I just lay down a quick wash with this, and then I'm going to just finish that up and hit it with the heat tool. I really didn't want too much color to compete with what I'm doing, but I also wanted just something to give it a little bit more interest. After that one piece dries, I'm going to use it to cut, like I said, to cut the die through, and then I'll have several layers underneath it. I chose a sort of a brown ochre color for a cardstock, and then I'm going to layer it all on top of just a white card base. This is the Tonic Tim Holtz trimmer, the Guillotine trimmer, and it is cuts like a dream. It's got a really neat little piece that comes out and extends it, and a little sort of like kickstand that makes it really solid and pretty impossible to cut yourself with, which is good because I'm kind of a big klutz. And so it's really nice too. So what I do here is you're just going to see me trying to size up the cardstocks and the glitter paper that I'm going to use. Every time I get close to the holidays, I always think about using glitter paper. I don't know why I don't really think about using it in the summertime, but Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, it just makes me think I need to use the glitter paper. So this is a nice kind of brown, I don't know if that's a word, mocha-ish brown. And I'm just trying to size up the layers so they can stack, and then you'll see it behind there. And that's the die cut. It's one of the dot and drop dies, and it's called Twirling Branches. And it's the metal die that part of it cuts through and part of it just embosses the dots where you can use the Nuvo drops, which I thought would be really neat for kind of showing leaves and kind of maybe changing leaves in the fall season and all that. So I ran that through my Big Shot, and you can see here, and it would be great to use this for two cards because you can use the part that is die cut like I use, and then you can use the piece that comes out as another treat. So I pop all of those little pieces out, and I set them off to the side to possibly use as another piece. I had originally planned to just have this maybe popped on some pop dots, or like, you know, dimensional adhesive and then let you see the cardstock or the glitter cardstock below it. But as I was doing it and kind of fitting those pieces back in to see where they went, it really made me think I might change my mind and want to do sort of an inset card. So what I did do is I ran my glitter paper through the back through my Big Shot and did the same thing with it. And so then you'll see what I do is kind of an inlay with those same ones, with those same pieces of the branch, instead of having it just as a border. So I run that through. It works like a dream. And I pull those pieces out and then start to lay them inside the original die cut. And that would make a great card. You could probably make like 3 or 4 cards out of just these pieces that come out, and then out of the positive and negative. It'd be a really interesting sort of challenge to do. And I thought that looked great. It really popped it out a bit. And because of that, I think I don't end up using the glitter cardstock as a back, as one of the layered backgrounds. I just use this sort of dark ochre color. So I'm going to use the, I pop it all in together, and it does stay well, but instead of trying to glue in those little pieces and make sure that they stay in really nice and tight, what I decided to do is to tape it all down the back with a washi, and that will make a solid kind of backing for it. First, I adhere the that ochre piece, and then this is the washi that I put on the back of it just to make sure it all stayed and did not move around. And then I used some dimensional tape to pop it up, and that helped hold down the washi too, which was kind of coming up in a little bit of a few places. But I didn't want to add glue. I'm notorious for adding too much glue, and I really wanted to keep it as clean as possible. So that worked out well. I guess I could have just glued a piece of cardstock on the back of it, but anyway, I popped that whole thing up and adhere that to the matted piece of my card base. And then I take my Nuvo Drops. I will actually, well, I think I start to try to figure out what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to do an embossed sentiment, and I'm going to try to use a piece of this Ali Edwards. It's one of the old sort of month by month collections, and it has the word autumn in it. And then I've got another happy, and so it was just going to say happy autumn, but I think I ended up cutting it down so I can try to fit it all in one. I did use a glue pen there to kind of make sure that a couple of those little pieces did not come up. So now I'm going to take these Nuvo Drops. These are the newest vintage ones, and they're a matte finish. And I've got the let's see, Saddlebag, which I think that one is. It's the lightest one. And I've got Chocolate Chip. And I've got, oh, I don't know what that darkest one is called. I thought it was Dusty Rose, but that's not it. It's actually a darker color. And when I was trying to make it look like there were lighter leaves at the top, and then the leaves were sort of changing as they went down towards the bottom. And I used that to cover each of the dots that were part of the dot and drop die. And those colors kind of helped me pick out what the color I used for the watercolor background. So that that's sort of where that came from. I can't remember the name of that color. It's more of a fuchsia-ish color. They're nice because they're much softer, muted colors, and they're also matte, which is a little bit different too. So after those get all in place and start to dry, I go ahead and work on the sentiment. And I decided what I was going to do was to use a piece of vellum. I didn't want to really I didn't want to heat emboss on top of the card, and I didn't want to cover anything up. So I decided to use a piece of vellum, and I used the Nuvo Embossing Powder. It's the fine detail powder in the color Copper Blush, which looks great with that glitter paper. And I also used the embossing pad, the Nuvo Embossing Pad. And one thing that happened when I took off the embossing powder, it has a little seal on the top of it that keeps it there, and when I took that off, it's covered with the embossing powder. And I actually just heat set that too, and then I used it on the bottom of it in case I end up storing them that way, or they get stored sideways, so I can use it as a color guide. So I stamped that out, and I actually had cut the piece that says happy in half, so I could I think it said Happy Trails. It's from Lawn Fawn. So I could use that to say Happy Autumn and not have a break. I used two colors. I used the gold and this copper blush to decide which one I liked better. And I pressed down a little bit too hard with the embossing ink on the gold, but I really like the copper better. It's the one I'd wanted to use that I thought would look better with the glitter paper, and it did. So that's the one I decided to use anyway. So I heat set that mostly using just the back side. I got my heat gun pretty good and hot, and then so I wouldn't have any warpage, just barely ran it over the front. And then I trim it down pretty small and just cut a diagonal on the ends, not like a flag, just a diagonal to give it a little bit of interest. Those are the tops of those two, which I used to heat emboss, which I thought was kind of a neat idea. Plus, they're a little bit sticky on the back side, so they stuck to the bottom of the jars of embossing paste. Love that copper. And here is the finished product. I kind of cut out accidentally that just part of me gluing down the sentiment, but as you can see here, these are the close-ups. That's the final product there. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you check out some of the other new design team members and their projects. There's going to be a lot of new input and a lot of new content, and I'm really excited about being a part of it. Thanks so much for stopping by, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and we will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.